The breaking point. The message came during Earth's darkest hour. Billions watched their screens in horror as the Galactic Council's broadcast cut through every channel, every feed, every neural link across human space. Commander Sarah Chen stood rigid on the bridge of the ESS Hyperion, her knuckles white against the command rail as the transmission began. High Counselor Zextal's crystalline form shimmered with barely contained contempt. Let the consequences of defiance be known. The alien leader's harmonics reverberated. Behind him, rows of human prisoners knelt in chains, their faces bearing the marks of prolonged captivity, but their eyes still blazing with defiance. Sarah recognized faces among them: veteran officers, scientists, civilians who'd been in the wrong place when the Council decided humanity needed to be contained. Her gaze fixed on Dr. Marcus Rivera, Earth's leading quantum physicist, the man who'd been on the verge of a breakthrough that could have changed everything. The executions were methodical, clinical. Each prisoner dissolved into ash as energy weapons discharged. The Council hadn't even granted them the dignity of a bullet. Sarah's neural implant recorded every second, every death, even as her mind screamed to look away. They needed to remember. All of humanity needed to remember. The Council's judgment is final, Zextal concluded. Humanity will submit to oversight, or face extinction. The broadcast cut off. In the silence that followed, Sarah's tactical officer, Lieutenant Kiraputo, whispered what they all were thinking. They're going to regret this. Sarah's neural link buzzed with an encrypted transmission. Admiral Zhang, commanding the remnants of Earth's defense fleet from a hidden base in the Kuiper Belt. Commander Chen, initiate Protocol Lazarus. Authorization code, Phoenix Rising. Her breath caught. Protocol Lazarus wasn't supposed to exist. It was a contingency so desperate that most believed it was just a rumor, a morale booster for the troops. Sir, confirm authorization. Confirmation code. Earth endures. They thought they broke us, Commander. Instead, they just gave us nothing left to lose. Sarah's neural implant interfaced with the ship's systems, bringing up classified schematics that shouldn't have existed. Deep within the Hyperion's quantum core, systems that had laid dormant began to power up. Similar activations were happening across every surviving human vessel, every hidden facility. For 3 years, humanity had played the part of a beaten species, accepting the Council's protection while secretly preparing. The executions were meant to be the final proof of human submission. Instead, they had just triggered humanity's most ambitious gambit. All hands, Sarah's voice carried across the ship's comm system. Battle stations. Initiative Lazarus is now active. Throughout the ship, hidden compartments opened, revealing modified weapons systems that defied Council regulations. Quantum shielding that shouldn't have been possible rippled across the hull, rendering the Hyperion virtually invisible to standard scanners. Lieutenant Patel's console lit up with similar reports from across human space. Civilian ships revealing military-grade weaponry. Mining platforms transforming into defense stations. Research outposts activating experimental shield systems. Ma'am, Patel reported, I'm reading quantum signatures from the Luna shipyards. They're launching ships. But that's impossible. The shipyards were destroyed in the first wave. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The shipyards the Council knew about were destroyed. Accessing tactical overlay. The holographic display bloomed with new data. Hundreds of ships emerging from hidden docks throughout the solar system. Each vessel represented thousands of hours of secret labor, built by automated systems in quantum-shielded facilities, while decoy ruins kept Council observers satisfied. Signal from Admiral Zhang, Patel announced. Message reads, the Council thought they were watching a broken species learn its place. Instead, they've been watching humanity prepare for war. All ships execute primary attack patterns. Today, we show them why humanity survives. The Hyperion's engines hummed to life, along with hundreds of others across the system. Sarah took one last look at the tactical display, at the careful positioning of every ship and station. 3 years of preparation, of playing the defeated species had led to this moment. Helm, plot course for the nearest Council relay station. Weapons, bring all systems online. They wanted to make an example of us. Sarah's voice carried the weight of every human life lost to Council aggression. Let's show them exactly what kind of example we can be. The Hyperion accelerated, leading a fleet that shouldn't have existed toward an enemy that thought they'd already won. Behind them, Earth's orbital defense grid shimmered and vanished, replaced by state-of-the-art weapons platforms that had been hiding in plain sight for years. Humanity had learned long ago that survival sometimes meant letting your enemy think they'd won. Now it was time to show the Council exactly what they'd awakened. The war for human independence wasn't ending. Operation Silent Thunder. The Council's primary defense station in the Proxima Centauri system was a marvel of alien engineering. 3 interlocking rings of quantum-hardened alloys, housing enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. Its commanders had never lost a battle, never failed to detect an approaching threat. They never saw the Hyperion coming. Quantum wake signatures masked. Lieutenant Pottle reported from her station. Mimetic hull adaptation at 98%. We're reading as background radiation. Commander Chen watched the tactical display as her fleet approached the station. 20 ships, each running silent with systems that the Council believed impossible for humanity to develop. The product of 3 years of secret research, of scientists working in hidden laboratories, while their public counterparts played at primitive technologies to maintain the deception. Signal from the Artemis, Patel whispered. Captain Rodriguez reports their boarding teams are ready. Sarah nodded, checking the chrono display. In 30 seconds, coordinated strikes would begin across 12 sectors of Council space, a symphony of destruction composed over years of patient planning. Begin final approach. Prepare to broadcast the message. The message had been Admiral Zhang's idea, a reminder to the Council that actions had consequences, that humanity's apparent submission had been a carefully crafted illusion. Each strike would begin with the same words that had preceded the Council's execution broadcast. Let the consequences of defiance be known. The station's outer ring filled their viewport, its surface unmarred by weapons fire or impact craters. That was about to change. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Fire on my mark. Throughout the fleet, gunners targeted predetermined weak points in the station's quantum shielding. Points that Dr. Rivera had identified before his capture, before his execution, his final gift to humanity's cause. For Marcus, Sarah whispered, fire. The first shots were silent in the vacuum of space, but their effects were devastating. Modified quantum torpedoes phased through the station's outer shields, detonating inside the defensive matrix itself. Secondary explosions bloomed along the ring structure as carefully planted demolition charges, smuggled in over months by seemingly compliant human workers, added to the chaos. Station's primary power grid is destabilizing, Paddle reported. Their quantum core is going critical. Emergency broadcasts detected on all Council frequencies. Sarah allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. Launch boarding parties. Secure the command center and download everything. Let's see what other secrets they've been keeping. The Hyperion's troop carriers launched, filled with soldiers in next-generation combat suits, equipment that looked crude and primitive on the surface, concealing technologies that would have made the Council's scientists weep with envy. Multiple ships launching from the station, Patil announced, mostly escape pods, 2 frigates attempting to power up weapons. Let the escape pods go, Sarah ordered. We're not them. But those frigates don't leave alive. They've seen too much. The battle that followed was brief but intense. Council ships, designed to fight conventional enemies, found themselves facing vessels that seemed to bend reality itself. Human quantum drives, perfected in secret, allowed impossible maneuvers. Weapons guided by neural interfaces more sophisticated than anything the Council had encountered cut through alien defenses with surgical precision. Station secure, the ground team reported. Downloading their databases now. Mime, you're going to want to see this. We found records of other species they contained. We weren't the first, just the latest. Sarah's neural implant processed the incoming data, star charts marking the locations of other imprisoned species, research facilities studying captured technology, and something else, something that made her blood run cold. "They're building something," she said, studying the encrypted files. "Something big. The executions, the containment. It wasn't just about controlling us. They're afraid." "Afraid of what?" Patil asked. Before Sarah could answer, new signals lit up the tactical display. Multiple quantum signatures detected, the sensor officer reported. Massive council fleet entering the system. At least 30 capital ships. Sarah smiled. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Signal the second wave. Let's show them what humanity can really do. The quantum wake of approaching human ships rippled through space-time. Not 20 vessels this time, but hundreds. The full force of humanity's secret fleet, emerging from quantum shadows where they'd waited for this exact moment. The real battle for humanity's future was about to begin. And this time, they weren't playing by the Council's rules. The alliance forged. The Hyperion's quantum sensors registered the death of another Council battleship, its hull torn apart by weapons that shouldn't have existed. But Sarah Chen's attention was fixed on the holographic figure floating above her command table, a beam of crystalline fragments and swirling energy that called itself an Arxian. "Your attack on Proxima Station freed 300 of my people," the Arxian said, its voice a symphony of harmonics. "We had been imprisoned there for 8 decades, test subjects for Council weapons development." Sarah's neural implant translated the subtle variations in the alien's energy field, reading emotions that no human eye could detect. "The Council told us we were alone in our defiance, that all other species had accepted their protection willingly. They tell that lie to all their victims." Another voice joined the conversation. A Meridian ambassador, her scaled form shifting colors with each word. "They isolated us from each other, made each species believe they were unique in their resistance." The command center had become an impromptu gathering of the oppressed. Representatives from 7 species, each freed from hidden Council facilities during Operation Silent Thunder, each bearing stories of containment, experimentation, and carefully manipulated isolation. "The Council's coming," Lieutenant Patil reported from her station. Long-range sensors show they're gathering the largest fleet ever recorded, over 500 capital ships. "Let them come," the Arxian's energy field pulsed with determination. "My people have already begun modifying your quantum drives with our crystalline technology. The Meridian's phase shift capabilities can be integrated with your stealth systems." Sarah studied the tactical displays showing the status of humanity's fleet. The battles had been costly. 15 ships lost, another 30 damaged. But they had freed thousands of prisoners and gained allies with technologies that complemented their own. "They're not just gathering ships," the Meridian ambassador noted, her scales shifting to a deep purple of concern. "Our spies report they're activating something called the Nexus Protocol, something they've been building for millennia." Sarah's neural implant pinged with an incoming transmission. The encrypted files from Proxima Station had finally been decoded. As the data flowed through her consciousness, her eyes widened. "The Council isn't just an administrative body," she said, sharing the data with the assembled allies. "They're a weapon, the living weapon created by something far older, something that sleeps in the spaces between galaxies." The command center fell silent as the implications became clear. The Council's obsession with control, with containing and studying species that showed signs of advancement. It wasn't about maintaining order. It was about preventing any civilization from growing strong enough to resist what was coming. "They're scared." The Arxian's energy field flickered with realization. "Not of us individually, but of what we might become together. Each of our species has developed technologies they thought impossible. Imagine what we could create if we combined our knowledge." Sarah's neural implant connected with the ship's quantum core, running simulations based on the combined technological capabilities of the assembled species. The results were staggering. "We have 6 days before their fleet arrives," she announced. 6 days to combine our technologies, to forge an alliance strong enough to break the Council's power forever, to prove that they were right to fear us, not as threats to be contained, but as beings capable of choosing our own destiny. The Meridian Ambassador's scales shifted to the gold of decision. "The phase shift facilities in the Deneb sector are yours to use. We can modify your entire fleet within 48 hours. The crystalline forges of Arxia stand ready, the Arxian's energy field pulsed with purpose. We will upgrade your quantum cores, give your ships power that will make the Council's weapons look like children's toys." One by one, the other representatives made similar pledges. Resources committed, technology shared, ancient rivalries set aside in the face of a common enemy. With each promise, the tactical displays updated, showing the potential of their combined strength. "Send word to Admiral Zhang," Sarah ordered. "Tell him Operation Silent Thunder is complete. We're initiating Phase 3, Project Unity." As the representatives departed to begin the work of combining their technologies, Sarah studied the tactical projection of the approaching Council fleet. They thought they were coming to crush a rebellion. Instead, they were about to face something unprecedented. An alliance of species united not by fear or domination, but by a shared vision of freedom. The real war was about to begin. And this time, the Council wasn't facing scattered, isolated resistance. They were facing the combined might of every species they had tried to break. Turning of the tide. The Hyperion's bridge was silent as Sarah Chen studied the tactical display. The Council's armada filled the holographic projection. Hundreds of ships arranged in attack formations that had conquered 1,000 worlds. At their center, something massive was taking shape, its quantum signature unlike anything their sensors had ever detected. "The Nexus protocol is active," Lieutenant Puddle reported, her voice tight. "Energy readings are off the scale. Whatever that thing is, it's drawing power from somewhere else. Multiple dimensions." The Arxian science officer's crystalline form pulsed with concern. Its newly installed interface merged seamlessly with the ship's systems, adding new layers of data to their sensors. "The Council is pulling energy from parallel realities, burning them to fuel their weapon." Sarah's neural implant processed the incoming data from their combined fleet. Human ships now bristled with crystalline sensor arrays, their hulls incorporating Meridian phase shift technology. Weapon systems upgraded with knowledge from half a dozen species, each contributing their centuries of hidden research. "All ships report ready," Patel announced. "The Arxian modifications to our quantum cores are stable. Phase shift systems are synchronized across the fleet." Sarah took a deep breath. 6 days of frantic work had transformed their vessels into something unprecedented. A perfect fusion of technologies the Council had tried to keep separate. Now it was time to see if it would be enough. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "Begin Operation Unity." The battle began with a silence that belied its intensity. Human ships, cloaked in Meridian phase shift fields, slipped between the dimensions that the Council's sensors could detect. Arxian crystalline arrays channeled energy through quantum cores modified with technologies from 3 different species. The first shots caught the Council completely off guard. Ships that should have been impossible, using weapons that defied their understanding of physics, tore through their formation. But the Council hadn't maintained their power for millennia by being unprepared. Energy spiked from the Nexus. Patel's warning came just as reality itself seemed to twist. Space buckled as the Council's weapon drew more power from parallel dimensions, creating distortions that threatened to tear their ships apart. "Now we see what they really fear." The Arxian officer's crystalline form resonated with grim understanding. "They're willing to destroy entire realities to maintain control." Sarah's neural implant connected with the Hyperion's upgraded systems, feeling the strain as their modified quantum core fought against the dimensional distortions. "Signal the Meridian squadrons. Begin Phase 2. Across the battlefield, Meridian phase shift technology activated at full power. Ships didn't just cloak, They shifted partially out of normal spacetime, existing in multiple states simultaneously. The Council's weapon couldn't target what it couldn't fully perceive. Multiple Council ships breaking formation, Paddle reported. Their targeting systems can't compensate for the phase shift effect. But the Nexus is still drawing power. Dimensional stability is degrading across the sector. Sarah watched as reality itself began to fragment around them. The Council was willing to tear apart the fabric of spacetime rather than lose control. Unless. The files from Proxima Station, she said suddenly. The Council isn't just afraid of our combined strength. They're afraid we'll wake it up, the entity they were created to contain. Understanding rippled through the bridge crew. The Council's true purpose, hidden for millennia. They weren't meant to rule. They were meant to prevent anyone from becoming powerful enough to disturb whatever slept in the void between galaxies. They're not weapons. The Arxian officer's crystalline structure pulsed with revelation. They're guards, jailers, and we're about to break their prison. Sarah's mind raced through the implications. The Council's desperate attempt to control advanced species, their fear of united resistance, the Nexus Protocol itself, all designed to maintain the deep sleep of something ancient and powerful. All ships, she broadcast across the fleet, disengage from the Council forces, focus all fire on the Nexus. If they want to tear reality apart to stop us, let's give them a reason to fear what they might wake up. The Allied fleet moved with perfect coordination, their combined technologies creating attack patterns that the Council had never conceived possible. Human tactical intuition, Arxian energy manipulation, meridian phase shifting, all directed at the massive construct at the heart of the Council's fleet. The Nexus is destabilizing, Paddle reported. Its power draw is fluctuating. They're trying to shut it down, but the dimensional rifts are spreading faster than they can contain them. Through her neural interface, Sarah felt the shudder of reality straining against itself. The Council had built their weapon to prevent any force from threatening their control. Instead, they had created the very thing they feared, a disturbance powerful enough to echo through the void between galaxies. Signal detected, the sensor officer announced, his voice filled with awe. Something's responding to the dimensional distortions, something vast. The battle was about to enter its final phase, but Sarah Chen had a feeling that the true war, the one the Council had spent millennia trying to prevent, was only just beginning. A new dawn. The void between galaxies stirred. On the Hyperion's bridge, Sarah Chen watched as reality fractured around the Council's massive fleet. The Nexus Protocol, their ultimate weapon, had become their undoing. Its desperate attempt to maintain control had created the very disturbance they had spent millennia trying to prevent. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Lieutenant Patel's voice was barely a whisper. They're like nothing we've ever seen. Orders, Commander. Through her neural interface, Sarah felt the tremors of something vast awakening. The tactical display couldn't properly render what their sensors were detecting. Shapes that existed in more dimensions than human minds could process, energies that defied classification. The Council is retreating, the Arxian officer reported, its crystalline form vibrating with mixed fear and awe. Their fleet is attempting emergency quantum jumps. The Nexus. They're trying to shut it down. Too late, Sarah said, watching as space itself seemed to part. They spent so long trying to keep everyone else in chains, they forgot why those chains existed in the first place. The entity that emerged defied description. It was as if a piece of the universe had become aware of itself, had opened eyes that had been closed for eons. The combined fleet of allied species, human, Arxian, Meridian, and others, found themselves in the presence of something that made their recent battles seem like children playing with toys. Receiving something, Paddle reported. Not exactly a transmission. More like concepts, ideas being inserted directly into our minds. Sarah felt it too, through her neural implant. Ancient knowledge, memories of a time before the Council, before the Great Sleep. Understanding bloomed in her consciousness, the truth of why the Council had been created, why they had become what they were. They were meant to be guardians, she said, the knowledge flowing through her. Created to watch over younger species, to guide them. But they became afraid. Afraid of what might happen if any of us grew strong enough to wake their creators. The entity's presence filled space itself, its attention focusing on the assembled fleet of former Council slaves. Sarah felt its curiosity, its approval of what they had achieved. The combining of technologies, the alliance of different species, this was what should have happened naturally without the Council's interference. The Council ships are powering weapons, Paddle reported. They're targeting their own Nexus device, trying to collapse the dimensional rifts. Let them, Sarah ordered, understanding flowing through her neural link. Everyone, stand down. This isn't our fight anymore. The Council's weapons fired, their energy weapons attempting to destroy the very device they had created to maintain control. But it was futile. The entity, the ancient, as Sarah's mind now knew to call it, had fully awakened. Reality rippled as more of its kind stirred in the void, roused from their long sleep by the disturbance. What followed wasn't really a battle. The Council's weapons, terrifying as they had seemed mere hours ago, were like raindrops against an ocean. The ancients didn't destroy them. They simply removed them. Thousands of Council ships, the Nexus device, all of it simply ceased to exist in normal spacetime. They're gone, Paddle said, checking her sensors. The Council fleet, the Nexus, all of it, just gone. Sarah felt the ancients' attention turn to their combined fleet, not with hostility, but with something like parental pride. They had done what no other species had managed in millennia, broken free of the Council's control, united despite their differences, and grown strong enough to wake those who had slept. Commander, the Arxian officer's crystalline form pulsed with new energy. The ancient, it's sharing something. Technology. Understanding. Things the Council kept hidden from us. Knowledge flowed through the neural interfaces of every ship in the fleet. Not weapons or tools of control, but true understanding. The physics of reality itself, the nature of consciousness, the proper way for species to grow and learn together. They're not going to rule us, Sarah realized, feeling the ancients' intentions. They're going to teach us, show us what we should have learned millennia ago, before the Council lost their way. The void between galaxies stirred again as more ancients awakened, not to conquer or control, but to guide, to teach, to help the species of the galaxy become what they were always meant to be. Signal from Admiral Zhang, Paddle reported. He's asking what happens now. Sarah looked out at the stars, feeling the presence of the ancients rippling through reality. The Council was gone, their age of control and fear ended. But this wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. Now, she said, we learn, we grow, we become what the Council feared we could be. She turned to face her crew, human, Arxian, Meridian, all working together as if they had been doing so for centuries. We become something new. The Hyperion's quantum drives hummed to life, joined by hundreds of other ships from dozen different species. Above them, around them, through dimensions humans were only beginning to understand, the ancients watched and guided. The age of the Council was over. The age of unity had begun.